I'm just going to do this focus pull a second, so everybody needs to keep really still. Wow, do you want to take the pictures? So, I need the focus loop down here. Okay, go on in. And again. That's it. Yeah, well, this time of the year we're just finishing off Christmas. We've been working on Christmas since St David's Day, really. 1st of March is when we start. We've normally finished summer before Christmas. I think this year we finished like the 23rd of December. The studio's normally turfed for a good month with barbecues going. We can cook anything in any way, or the chef can. Mm. We're having our workshop downstairs revamped so that we've got a quicker kind of go-to for set building. Not that we build room sets, but we do build quite a lot of tabletop sets and backgrounds and things. The studio is a building which facilitates people with skills to do their jobs. Manon is looking after me in the studio, I'm in the studio, chef's in the kitchen, and Matthew's downstairs doing the retouch in real time. Mm. We use Macs obviously, but these Macs are linked together and the screens are synced because they're colour sync screens, and Matthew's seeing downstairs exactly what I'm seeing upstairs, and he's working on them in real time for the client.
So as is typical with a studio set, you're shooting tethered, but yeah. I mean this is really interesting. You've got a network going, and your retoucher is downstairs.
We shoot tethered into the network, yes.
Right, yeah.
And Chef can see it as well in the kitchen, because Chef's got a Mac on the kitchen wall. And quite often you'll find he's screen mirroring. So if he can't be down here by the camera, he can shout, you know.
So this setup we're describing now, is this typical on every project, or is this an intense? You're going to say every project's intense, but is this a tight deadline, this one?
No, well, typically we work like that. Everybody's networked. We don't use any paper.
Right.
All the visuals are on screen. All the job sheets, which are normally in Excel, are on the screen, and they're shared between everybody. I hate it if people have to do a job and they don't have the information they require. It's ridiculous to have Matthew run up the stairs and say, what's the name of that soup? You know, he should have that information. So it's all shared across the network. Computers are great. They don't half make everybody's life easier, especially mine, because nobody's asking me questions.
No, I think one of the interesting things about your site, when you go there, is it's full-on food. Is that where you started, though?
No. I started my first job in photography when I was 15. I've had a very charmed career. Well, I was into photography when I was a kid, an only child, you know, like a lot of kids back in the 70s. I had my mum's pantry turned into a darkroom, and I was into art, photography, and music. Excuse me a second. You all right, Chef?
Yeah.
Every picture is a team effort. You know, I don't cook anything. That's Chef's job.
Okay, what I tend to do when constructing a dish with so many elements is cook them individually, so we can keep all the colours as vibrant as possible, and also each individual, you know, piece of fish or piece of meat is going to look as best as possibly can before I bind it all together, and it gets coated in sauce sometimes, and it loses its texture and its colour, and then I'll add everything together and then place it in position. Which I'm going to do now. What I've done is I've kept some of the ingredients back, which we call the Brad Pitts, the better looking ones, and then we'll place those in the position where we need. So I've mixed a bit of everything together to start, get the base, and then we'll build on top of it then.
What's really interesting about seeing the way you're working, Andre, is you've obviously got a main ingredient or a dish that you're going to sell for that particular client, but the accompaniments, the other bits, the colours, the textures on the plate aren't just cosmetic, though. You're presumably having to come at it from a point of view of a chef, the taste.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes at the beginning, when a new client comes on board, they tend to come and go through things, give us a brief and so on, and then after a couple of sessions with us, they can see clearly that we're on top of it. We know exactly what we're doing, how to get the best out of things, And like today, they just leave us alone then.
This is a very small one-day, half-day job actually for this client, which is just a pickup on a new product for a range that we've already shot, which was a 1-week job.
Right.
So this is just a little pickup to slot into the range. The whole team has worked with the client before. The client trusts us, so she hasn't come down from London for the day because it's only a couple of little shots.
Okay, so you both know this client.
Yeah, we know the
Both
client, we know the
product.
brand.
Yeah, right.
You know, we've worked on the recipes for the client because quite often Andre will create the recipes for a product like this, which is a ready cooked product, ready to eat, but it can go into multiple recipe options. And you know, sometimes Andre will come up with those. Sometimes their development chefs do.
Typically, how long would it be before they get to see something?
Okay, so we've had a really heavy week last week on some quite complex multiple shots, which Matt is our Photoshop tank, and he's been smashing through them, but he's still tied up on Friday's job.
Right.
These will probably get into Matt about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and they'll get them. Well, if they want them tomorrow, they'll get them tomorrow. But I don't think they do need them tomorrow. Normally, clients get their pictures within 48 hours.
Right.
They can see them from a screen grab, you know, at any stage.
When you're shooting digital, tele. Are you thinking about multiple uses for these shots?
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah. I mean, these days, web designers, you know, they're always going to want the letterbox, always. So we tend to shoot with quite a lot of bleed, so a client can get a landscape or an upright out of one picture. You know, if you're doing a pour, like a gravy pour, or you know, honey or custard, something like that, you don't want to do it all twice. So they go an upright and a landscape, and we're shooting with an 80 million pixel back, which shoots a 16-bit, so it gives them a massive TIFF to work from.
Designers must love you.
They do until we clog up their machines. They're huge files, and you know, you can afford to not be totally tight as long as you can maintain the dynamic.
You being aware with a client, say for example this one, you have worked with them before, they trust you to get on with it. There's no client here.
No, but there was a client here yesterday, and you've been trying to come here for about 6 months.
You're a hard man to get hold of.
Well, you can always get hold of me. I'm always here, but you know, if you'd come any day in the last month, there would have been a team of clients sat at the boardroom table over there.
Yeah, and I will say, to make this happen, we've agreed to your suggestion to just come into the thick of it.
Yeah,
and do you while you're working. Which is great.
We are very busy. We work every day. At certain times of the year, it was a bit easier this year. We only had to do 6 days a week. This time last year, we were doing evening shifts as well.
Are you the only photographer?
Well, you know, other people
Mannon's come in as assistant, but
when you see the way we work with plated dishes, we've only got one chef.
Yep.
You know, well, we've got 2 kitchens actually, but you know, it's not about quantity; it's about quality, and it's about giving clients collateral that they can use and use again, and you know, that's what gives you the value for money.
But going back to that thing about framing, composition, large format files, giving the client some flexibility in how they'll use them. It was interesting, you were saying earlier just off mic that you don't shoot for magazines, but you have an editorial awareness though, don't you, in terms of how this work is going to
Pagination awareness, and you know, a lot of brochures that we shoot at the moment. We shoot some really big, thick, 1.5 to 2 inch thick food brochures. They want them to have some kind of reference to magazine trends. So, you know, quite often we'll shoot a double-page spread and have the food on the right-hand page, and then you've just got a nice rustic background on the left for them to run text over, that sort of thing. But that's a pagination awareness, not editorial, is it?
Yeah. So this was a continuing client. It'd be really interesting just to get a take on, and I know there won't be a typical job, but for you, what's the process? Are you working remotely in terms of taking the brief, or are you still doing meetings, webinars? How does Huw work?
Well, we don't have a huge amount of clients, maybe 100 accounts that we work for regularly. So, and we've worked for some of those for years and years and years. And some of the big boys, we do 100% of their photography. So we know when their jobs are coming up, if they're seasonal, which is lovely. We do have the occasional meeting. I try not to do meetings though, because they're not that productive. We get most of our briefs on Excel documents so that we can share them amongst the team. And that's it really. Styling meetings maybe. Quite a few of our clients have independent art directors which they send out, and that's their job to do the meetings, isn't it?
And what's your approach with art directors? You don't want to just be a button presser, presumably.
No, we want to be picture makers. We don't want to be sophisticated cameras that they just tell what to do. So, it's got to be a two-way street. And I think people appreciate that, because there are photographers out there who are just button pressers. And in a commercial environment, that happens more than you'd think. But we want to be involved in making the picture. And it's quite nice when clients ask us, what we think would look good for this. What do you think would look good for that? We've been doing quite a few ice cream shots recently for clients where they've just let us get on with it. There was one really, really sexy one last week, the week before, where we shot 11 different flavours of ice cream in one shot. You can't do it. It's 11 shots stripped together, but when they put it on the page, it looked amazing.
How much prep are you doing with the team?
Well,
the stylist, chef.
In terms of facilities, you've seen our prop room, you've seen our plate room, our wine cellar. Yeah, every studio needs a wine cellar. That investment is there to make sure that we don't have downtime when we're out looking for props. Occasionally we send Manon out to go and buy antique butcher's choppers, was the last one.
Did Manon find one?
2. Occasionally we need to do things. We've got, obviously if we're set building, Bryn's working a couple of days in front of us, putting together the set, that sort of thing, and then, flat packing it, and then we bring it upstairs and construct it on the day. But we don't have downtime, like a furniture photographer might have a couple of days before the shoot to put it all together, because we, you make money as a photographer taking photographs. I think they can work with that. And then what I'll do is, obviously the point of focus is here, right on that cut. And if you plate it so that we've got the face edge here, what we'll do is we'll just whip the sausage out of the way and pull it forward, and then that gives us that shot. Then that's done and we can do something a bit more interesting. So
in terms of time constraints, how much time have you got between switching it around? Obviously there's the 1 or the 6 shots, I think, that Huw mentioned you might typically get in a day, but variations on that shot, how quickly are you moving to tweak things?
I guess we have to be on top of it straight away. Some things, they don't last very long under the lights and the camera. There was one shot we done, to give you an example of a risotto. We had to contact the client over the phone. That 10, 15 minutes in between getting a hold of them and the feedback and looking at the image on a screenshot we sent to them is deteriorating. So we have to do it again.
Yeah.
But something like this is holding quite well.
Is it polarised in terms of the stylists or photographers like yourself who will only shoot fresh food? Or do you, through necessity, have to use things like glycerin and fake the shots? I mean, is that a purist thing with the chef or with yourself? How's that work?
Okay, so because we work for food service an awful lot, so 50% of our clients would be commercial suppliers of food. So Bidvest 3663, in Wales, Castle Howell, Creed, all the big players, we work for them. So they're producing brochures for chefs or commercial buyers to look at. So it's very important that a chef prepares it, not an editorial food stylist. And that's the first point. When it comes to our retail brands that we work with, they will have commercial chefs of their own. Right. And they don't really want to talk to food stylists, they'd rather talk to a professional chef. And Andre's had a great career as head chef. He's worked all over the place, so he's very experienced. So he brings that culinary expertise to the team. I just make the picture.
But is there something about it being fresh, particularly when it comes to the produce side, rather than faking it?
I think every job's different. There are certain jobs which we do tweak. As I said earlier, you can't shoot 11 scoops of ice cream in one shot, because by the time you've scooped number 4, number 1 looks like custard.
But I guess what I'm getting at, that ice cream isn't acrylic.
No, that's real ice cream.
Proper stuff.
Yeah.
And the glisten on it might have a little bit of tweaking here and there.
There might be a few spatula marks which Matthew takes out.
Right, yeah.
But generally, everything we photograph is edible.
Right.
Generally. There are a couple of things which may not be the right temperature, may not be fully cooked. We did a retail packaging job last week with mini sausages, and chef actually cooked them 4 times, 4 different methods to give us the surface texture on the skin that we were looking for in a tight-in shot. But they were generally edible. I think the days of using mashed potato as ice cream or paint for milk,
right,
those have gone.
Food stylists aren't just home economics people now, are they? Some of them are chefs and cooks in their own right who work
yeah, absolutely. What you're looking for from a food stylist is a box, a box, and in that shot is in that box, and you've got the plate, you've got the napkin, you've got the tabletop, whatever, and then they prepare it, in a very beautiful way, which is where it doesn't fit in with a lot of our clients, because you've seen downstairs, so we would hold crockery, cutlery, wine, glassware for a commercial client, and then say it's a food service company. They say, we've got turkey paupiètes for Christmas on the front cover, so we'd like it on this plate with that knife and fork, with this napkin, with that wine, this cruet set, bosh. So they supply everything.
Yeah.
And you could buy that knife and fork from them. So it's slightly different to the kind of editorial David Loftus stuff.
But you mentioned David Loftus. I mean, that relationship with JB Oliver has been...
I was lucky, wasn't it?
Yeah. Nice. But he still goes off, he's doing his own food books.
Yeah,
sure.
He's doing travel. Yeah, and his work's lovely.
I mean, what floats your boat in terms of inspiration, and what do you shoot away from the studio? Will you do travel?
I used to do food and travel. I used to work for Lonely Planet.
Right.
But...
you're a dark horse. I
keep that one quiet. I made a mistake there, to be honest with you. I love travelling. I can't do as much as I used to do now because I'm a single parent. But that's kind of coming to the end because the kids are growing up. But I started taking travel commissions, which I wish I'd never done, really, because it took the fun out of it. I started doing travel photography recently, really, about 10 years ago, and it scared the living daylights out of me. You can imagine. Where are my toys? Where's the 9-foot camera stand?
Yeah.
And then I kind of did foodie type travel, lots of markets, lots of Asian, food experiences, that sort of thing. And then when I started taking commissions to do it, it took all the fun out of it. I wish I'd just stayed doing stock photography. So now I don't tell anybody about it, so don't tell anyone. Okay.
That's really interesting to hear, because, that legit setting of a Marrakesh market with produce, the hustle, the bustle, the people, the smoke, that wasn't a perfect backdrop for you to do?
Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Right. And you still needed toys, did you?
I'm very much a purist. I don't own a zoom lens. I only use prime lenses. Even on a Canon DSLR, I wouldn't use a zoom lens.
Why?
Well, the devil's work.
But so go back to the settings and say the travel. Do you shoot natural light, or is everything studio?
Now everything's in the studio and everything's lit with broncolor.
But you do like David Loftus's work?
I do like David Loftus's work. I'd like to know how he works after 3:30 in the winter.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's in Marrakesh at that time.
Because of the type of work we do, for instance, we've just done a 1 month's job for a client. Took a whole month. Yeah. Every day in the studio for a month. It'll go to print now, this week, and then they'll do updates. And they'll do monthly updates all the way up to December, and we'll probably do 1 or 2 days a month for them on that one job. Now, the way we work, you notice everything runs off that Mac screen. I haven't looked through a camera. We can go back to the original lighting files, the original exposure files, the original colour correction in September and create exactly the same lighting look, the same colour, same colour temperature, because we're very controlled on exposure, and that'll match. If we're using available light, there's too many variables.
Yeah.
For instance, this client here has got 6 of these products in that range. This is number 7. They want that to look exactly the same as the other 6. How do you do that with available? And the atmosphere is lovely, the feel, it's very editorial. This is a bit more commercial. This is commercial advertising photography. We just photograph food.